as a result of that car accident, I went to physical therapy. And while I was there, I saw a flyer for a workshop called Joy of Singing, and I thought, what the hell is that? And I wound up taking that workshop, which was all about facing your fears through music. And very quickly, I reconnected to what I like to call my performer, my authentic self. And that launched me into then creating cabaret shows, and I actually started integrating singing into some of my speaking and training work that I do. And I wanted to write about my experience. So I wrote a book called Stepping Into More, Lessons from a Recovering Perfectionist, which you can find on Amazon. And part of my vision was then to create a CD of songs, because I reference a lot of songs in the book. And the third part of my project, which I'm working on right now, is a one-person show.
Nice.
Okay.
So what do you hope people would take away from your book and CD?
I really am passionate about people reconnecting to those important parts about themselves, whether it be their strengths, their values, their passions, and to really live from an empowered place instead of living out of fear. Life is short, precious, and fleeting, so I hope that people really be inspired to reconnect and reclaim those things that are important to them in their lives.
Definitely. So, what are some of the concepts on the CD on the CD, and who is the producers that actually produce?
Well, the CD is really a combination of different genres of songs that are really inspiring to me. So there's musical theater, there's standards, there's pop, and Pablo Medina co-produced the CD with me. And actually, for anyone in Los Angeles, I'm having a CD concert, CD release concert this Saturday night with Pablo, along with another Pablo who's going to be doing percussion work for us.
Okay. That's up. Yeah, so this is straight independent, as you know. We like giving advice to people who's on this level, on the independent level, like you are, as far as music.
In terms of people that want to create music for themselves?
Yes. Like, what advice you would give them? They came to you and said, listen, he's doing it independently. What advice do you give me?
What advice I would give people would be to, first of all, be organized. Yeah. It's a lot of work. In terms of producing the CD, that's certainly a big project. And then figuring out how you're going to distribute the CD.
Yeah.
And how are you going to promote the CD? Those are all projects within themselves. So that would be my first bit of advice.
Exactly. Now about your book, where can they find your book? You said Amazon, right? What made you want to come up with the book? You said the car accident, and what else?
Yeah, well, I was going through a pretty tough time a few years back, especially with the whole financial recession that we were going through as a country. It definitely impacted me, and I was having a quote-unquote happy hour with a colleague of mine, and I was feeling pretty miserable, actually, and not very happy. And I was telling him about what was going on in my world, and at that point, I had just started reconnecting to singing. And after we talked for a while, he looked at me and he just said, everything you talked about, you seem dead. Like, you seem totally dead about, except your singing. You need to do something with your singing. And I thought about it, and just a few days later, this idea popped in my head. I said, I have a good story. And I love inspiring people, and I wanna write a book. I want to share my story. And the book is actually an autobiographical self-help book. So I share my journey, and at the end of each chapter, there's questions for the reader to really help them reflect and to glean lessons from my experience.
I have a question for you, Rachel. I see you say you're a professional development coach, correct?
Correct.
Can you please let everybody know what a development coach is?
Sure. So I work with individuals who are either wanting to make changes in their career. I also work with individuals as a life coach, so people that might not really be clear on what direction to take, or might have a hard time saying no, or might be fearful of finding and reclaiming their passion. And I like to help people step into more in their own lives. I also work in organizations, so I oftentimes work with leaders who might be great technically, that might not know how to communicate so well.
Okay. So do you do this when you do you do this through what they call it, the nonprofit organization, or through a professional organization?
All of the above.
Okay.
I've had the good fortune of working with big companies like Raytheon and Warner Brothers, and I've also worked with lots of nonprofits like Braille Institute. I actually just did some work this week at the Navy. I've done work at the Marines. So really all of the above.
Okay. Congrats to you. That's right. And it
Thank
also
you.
says you're a facilitator and speaker, and I understand that you make it clear, and I'm glad that people are out there listening. They understand you clear where you don't have to repeat yourself more than once. You know, you make more sense to me right now as you're speaking than a lot of people out here when they talk about their profession. You sound very wholehearted, and the word is sincere in what you're doing, because a lot of people take on a profession as a career but don't really have the passion for it. So yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Actually, I'm what's known as a strength-based coach.
Oh wow.
And if you think about a strength, a lot of times people think a strength is something you're good at.
Yes.
But actually a strength is something that energizes you. So if you're not doing something that energizes you, then it's really, you're not going to be happy, right?
Yes.
So I'm all about really honing in on my own strengths, and also helping other people identify what energizes them so that they can be more fulfilled. And I definitely am a very authentic, heartfelt person, so I appreciate that.
That's right. And the next thing is stepping up. What is it? Stepping into more, basically. You're basically showing people how to do it. You're also practicing it.
That's the goal. And of course, being a recovering perfectionist, sometimes that's challenging because, I want to get it right.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. We strive every day to do those things, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Well, she's a great woman. Shout out to you. That's right. That's what women do. I'm the only girl here, so I have to definitely give you Rachel.
What other challenges have you faced? From writing your book and doing the book.
Sorry, I had a hard time hearing that.
What other challenges have you had to face with writing the book and making the CD to the book?
Ooh, well, writing the book took 3.5 years.
Wow.
I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I work. So I literally, most of my writing took place at like 5:15 in the morning. I would write in 20-minute chunks, as well as taking writing workshops. So it really was a labor of love. It took quite a long time. And then also with the CD, one of the greatest things or gifts I gave myself actually is normally the way I approach things. Being a recovering perfectionist is I'm very action-oriented. So at first when I was making the CD, I was like, okay, I have a timeline. I'm going to do this. I'm going to whip this out. And then I realized that, wow, I have a real opportunity here to approach this differently. And I gave myself permission to let it take as long as it's going to take to produce this CD and to really get into the experience of it and the joy of it. And it took a year and a half. And I'm so glad that I gave myself permission to just really experience it and not just have this be another CD to check off my list.
Right. Well, that's not a long time. I mean, usually people take like about a year to a year and a half to do an album. So, even the people that's in the mainstream, they take like about a year and a half, 2 years. So you did a great job, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. It takes. Yeah, it's not. It takes like a year, usually 6 months to 2 years doing a CD. To do an album these days. Especially if you're doing like, I don't know how many songs you got on the CD, by the way.
I'm sorry, how many what?
Songs. You have on a CD.
There are 12 songs on the CD.
Yeah, so that's good timing right there. You know, especially as a singer and a songwriter, you definitely got to make sure that you have the perfect songs on that CD. So it's gonna take you about a year to do a year and a half. So there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, I'll hold on to that. Thank you.
Definitely. Do you have any plans to do another CD anytime soon? After, or you just gonna arrive with this one for like, for like a year or 2 years, and then work on the next one?
Yeah, great question. At this point, my next project is my one-person show.
Yeah.
And actually, even as part of my CD release concert this Saturday night, I'm going to be performing part of my story as in the beginning of the evening, and then later it will be a concert so people get a taste of what that one-person show is going to be like. So I'm going to start with that and see where that takes me.
Okay, so where's the release concert? Let them know again where the release concert will be at.
Sure. Did you want me to do that now or a little later?
Yeah, you can do it now. Just let people know so maybe they can show up if they're in your area.
Absolutely, thanks. It is happening at what's called the Complete Actors Place. Complete Actors Place. And that is in Sherman Oaks, California. And the show's going to start at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time.
Okay,
Nice.
okay. Sherman Oaks, where that's located? What big city is located next to?
That is the San Fernando Valley.
Oh,
So anyone that lives in Los Angeles will know
okay.
the San Fernando Valley, Sherman Oaks. And again, it's the Complete Actors Place, or people can feel free to contact me directly. I'd be happy to provide more information.
Okay, yeah. So that's it, Los Angeles. Okay, around that area. That's good. That's great. That's great. So what you see in the future after the CD, and if you do another CD, how far you willing to let this go? Just let everybody know, like as long as you can, right?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, one of the things I've been doing is actually integrating singing into some of my training work as well, and my speaking work. So it's been wonderful to integrate all of who I am into what I'm doing. I used to feel very compartmentalized. For example, I was the human resources manager at EMI Music Distribution years ago that represented 10 different labels, and no one had a clue I sang. So I used to feel like, okay, now I'm the professional. Oh, now I'm the mom. Now I'm the wife. Now I'm the daughter. And now I really feel like, because I am integrating more of my creativity into all areas of life, not just on the side, but also as part of my work, I feel much more integrated and whole as a person. So I'm excited to continue to find audiences that really resonate with my message and want to do more and more speaking at conferences and keynotes with the audience that's really going to appreciate what I have to share, and I'll sing as part of that speaking engagement.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So you said, speaking of EMI, you said you used to be part of EMI as far as distribution, working for them. So, and I want to ask you a question. In your opinion, the music industry, how do you feel about the music industry in these days and time compared to back 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Well, I was involved there, it's probably about 19 years ago already.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's changed quite a bit since the time I was there. But even when I was there, I was a human resources manager, so my perspective is really looking at the people and how people are treated. And truthfully, it wasn't a pretty picture.
Yeah. I mean, I
the attitude was pretty much like, oh, we could just fire those people and we'll get other people because everybody wants to work in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, they would go through people very quickly and not invest in people, not help people grow, and it was hard. It was hard to be a part of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I understand what you're saying, because I don't know if you heard of a guy named Steve Ruffin. He owned a label called Loud Records back in the days, And he basically said the same thing when he had sold